Have you ever stopped to think why, while everyone talks about crisis, a few manage to turn chaos into fortune? What if I showed you sectors and companies that actually grew when everything seemed to be falling apart, and how you can ride that wave before most people even notice? If you're tired of relying on the obvious and want fast growth, get ready. In this video, I'm going to reveal invisible opportunities that are hidden from the majority, showing you the shortcut strategists use to profit big when others see no way out. Have you ever felt like you could be ahead, but just lacked that extra market vision? Are you stuck making the usual choices while real opportunities slip by unnoticed? Stick with me until the end. I'll present practical examples of companies that boomed in the last crises and show you how to anticipate the next big move so you can get ahead and multiply your gains. In today's video, I'll reveal exactly which sectors in the United States have soared during past crises, and how you can anticipate those moves to catch the next big profit wave. If you're the type who wants rapid growth, loves trends, and wants to break out of the obvious and get into the real opportunity zone, stay with me till the end. Only those with strategic vision and the courage to look beyond really profit in these moments. Something important. Have you ever felt like you're missing chances because you try to do what everyone else does? Or that you could have made more if you had the right information and invested before the crowd? Then this video is for you. We're going to examine practical examples of American companies and sectors that took off exactly when most investors were afraid of the market. We'll debunk the idea that only playing it safe brings beneficial results, and show how informed boldness can be the biggest profit business. Watch every segment to learn which signs to look for, which entities to follow, and how to prepare a simple action plan, so you don't get stuck in anxiety and doubt. Ready to find out where real wealth hides when everything seems to fall apart? Then let's get started now. One of the biggest mistakes we see investors make during crises is following the so-called safe play, betting everything on the obvious. In the United States, that means putting blind faith in the S&P 500, traditional real estate, or investments that seem protected from economic shocks. The problem is that this crowd ends up competing for the same assets and often sees their returns become average or even negative. Looking at major economic cycles, like the dot-com bubble in the early 2000s and the 2008 financial crisis, those who chose to step away from the herd and take alternative paths gained much more. During the dot-com bust, tech companies that developed innovative solutions survived to later dominate the market. In the 2008 crisis, funds that bet on defensive sectors or disruptive businesses pulled ahead. This teaches us that the mindset of going with the flow can be a trap. A smart U.S. investor is not content to follow the herd. He questions the status quo, seeks information from varied sources, and realizes that less obvious areas might be true gold mines. This differentiated mindset is essential for anyone who wants to turn crisis into opportunity. It's also important to understand that safe play does not mean ignoring risks, but choosing where the risk is balanced with real growth potential, backed by concrete signals, not guesses. Therefore, I will show you how to identify these lesser explored paths that historically demonstrate resilience and explosive potential in tough economic times. So, why do crises often create unique opportunities? To answer this, we need to understand what happens during these periods in the United States and how markets and sectors behave. When the economy slows down, many businesses go defensive, cutting production, slashing investments, and reducing consumption. But on the flip side, some segments see their demand grow. For example, sectors linked to health, technology, exports, and alternative energy tend to show resilience or even expansion because their solutions become even more necessary. Additionally, crises create habit changes. The American consumer, facing challenges, looks for cheaper, more efficient, or urgent solutions. This opens space for innovation and growth in sectors that provide these solutions. The rise of telemedicine and distance learning are trends that have gained enormous traction in recent years, precisely in response to crisis. Capital also tends to flee hidden or risky areas to seek refuges that, although not obvious to the general public, are in high demand and have growth potential. Understanding this allows you to anticipate not only where to invest, but also how to track trends that signal the next boom. Therefore, adopting a macro and strategic vision is fundamental to spotting opportunities before they become popular. Next, I present the sectors that, in the American scenario, not only survived crises but skyrocketed in growth and revenue, generating above-average returns for those who bet on them with intelligence and vision. Let's look at the map of American sectors that surged during recent crises, showing why they are consistent bets for those who want to position themselves ahead of others. First, healthcare. Companies operating in biotechnology, laboratories, telemedicine, and digital health solutions saw accelerated growth during the pandemic and past recessions. These are sectors meeting basic and urgent needs that don't disappear even in tough times. Examples like Moderna, Zoom Health, and Teladoc are icons that really took off. Next, technology. Remote work platforms, automation, and cloud computing exploded because companies had to quickly adapt to new ways of operating. Companies like Shopify, Zoom, and Slack benefited from this structural shift. Another fundamental sector is exports and commodities, heavily driven by the strong dollar and global demand for American products such as grains, energy, and other strategic commodities. Agribusiness also deserves mention, a sector often underestimated, but one that guarantees stability and growth due to its crucial role in feeding and exporting within the U.S. Still, alternative niches are gaining ground. Cybersecurity with companies like CrowdStrike and Palo Alto Networks grows with accelerated digitization, while clean energy and online education are trends that are here to stay. Innovation makes these sectors the true engine of crises for those paying attention. Let's dive deeper into the healthcare sector, one of the fastest growing in the U.S. during crisis times. During the pandemic, we saw companies like Moderna, pioneer in mRNA vaccines, exponentially increase their market value, showing how rapid innovation can turn a crisis into real profit opportunity. Telemedicine companies like Teladoc were able to meet pent-up demand, gaining thousands of new clients. The high need for practical solutions for medical care and emergency health investments created a fertile environment for accelerated growth. But it's not just the well-known names. Startups and emerging companies focused on biotechnology, rapid diagnostics, and online health services played a decisive role in revolutionizing the market. The key is that these sectors attend to basic population needs, and when a crisis arises, the urgency for new solutions rises dramatically. This generates huge opportunities for investors who know how to spot the next Moderna or Teladoc of the future, watching innovation, patents, strategic partnerships, and accelerated growth cycles. There is still plenty of room for those who understand regulatory signals in the United States and government investments in research. Healthcare is a defensive sector, but with high explosion potential when crises directly impact people's daily lives. In technology, the scenario is equally promising. The pandemic and other recent crises showed that digital transformation is not only necessary but irreversible. Platforms facilitating remote work like Zoom, Slack, and Microsoft Teams became central to the American economy, growing fast and dominating corporate and educational sectors. The increased use of automation, artificial intelligence, and cloud computing opened a multi-billion-dollar market that continues growing even without obvious economic fluctuations. Companies like Shopify boosted e-commerce by enabling small and medium businesses to enter the digital market quickly and affordably. This is a practical example of how crises accelerate trends already gestating, creating opportunities for those who understand the right timing. Attentive investors who detected these movements before they exploded had exceptional returns due to exponential platform growth. To anticipate the next big tech boom, watch for signs like hiring spikes in tech startups, growing venture capital investments, and strategic partnerships among industry giants. These companies' ability to solve emerging crisis problems, home offices, data security, or process acceleration, are strong signs their growth will sustain medium to long term. Another important pillar is the export and commodities sectors, traditionally offering refuge and competitive advantage during crises. In the U.S., a strong dollar combined with global demand for food, energy, and raw materials creates an exceptional scenario for companies in these segments. Agribusiness, mining, processed food production, and energy, especially oil and gas, are clear examples. During economic crises, local consumption may fall, but exports become even more strategic as international markets seek reliable supplies. American companies dominating this chain not only survive but grow. Moreover, with changes in energy sectors, firms focused on clean and renewable energy open new investment horizons. Local and federal policies in the U.S. stimulate incentives for expanding solar, wind, and battery technologies, generating growth waves off most investors' radar. For investors, understanding this dynamic is essential. By analyzing export data, international prices, and U.S. environmental policies, you can anticipate where to allocate resources to maximize returns and minimize risks in the next crisis. More recently, alternative sectors have appeared as true gold mines in the U.S., especially cybersecurity, clean energy, and online education. Accelerated digitalization, fueled by recent crises, exposes individuals and companies to new risks, making cybersecurity one of the fastest-growing segments. Companies like CrowdStrike and Palo Alto Networks lead this niche, offering solutions to protect sensitive data and critical infrastructure. In energy, the shift toward clean sources such as solar and wind gains strength amid environmental concerns and policy incentives. Ventures in high-efficiency batteries and renewable technologies attract large investments, making this also a fertile field for visionary investors. Another hot niche is online education. Platforms such as Coursera, Udemy, and others have boomed amid demand for distance learning, setting up sectors in transformation and growth. These sectors grow even outside crises, with downturns only accelerating trends. For those seeking to anticipate market moves, tracking these sectors and their indicators is a highly strategic, valuable step. But how do you spot these opportunities while they're still off most people's radar? Strategic analysis is key. Start by looking for tangible signals: accelerated hiring, mergers and acquisitions, high venture capital and private equity investment, regulatory changes opening new markets, and clear shifts in consumer habits. For example, telemedicine's steady rise in investments is a strong signal. Reading market reports from sources like Harvard Business Review or Bloomberg, and attending sector conferences in the U.S., are valuable tools. Debate groups and forums such as Reddit Investing or Seeking Alpha also help filter fads. Keeping a constant research routine, combining quantitative data and insights, prepares you to identify the sector that will explode before big investors move in. This edge can multiply your wealth in the next crisis, while most wait for the market to recover. To finish, here's a simple plan to get started today. First, establish a routine to monitor global and local trends, Subscribe to specific newsletters, watch economic indicators, and follow emerging sectors. Second, diversify your investments so you don't put all your eggs in one basket. Test small bets and validate your hypotheses. Third, seek mentorship, courses, or expert groups to speed your learning and networking. Fourth, closely follow quarterly reports and company announcements in the discussed sectors so you can act quickly upon changes. Finally, keep your emotions in check so you don't sell low or miss opportunities out of fear. Now leave a comment. Which sector do you think has the greatest potential to explode in the next crisis? Share this video with friends who also want to turn crisis into opportunity. And if you want, download our exclusive guide to hidden opportunities. The link is in the description. Remember, the greatest winners are those who anticipate movements, innovate, and act before the crowd. Now, get ahead and multiply your gains when the market scares most people.